The wait is finally over. We are here at the start of the 2023 NBA season, and before we get the first games tonight, the Celtics versus my Sixers, I am so excited for that game. I am going to give you all my standing predictions for this upcoming season, so let's freaking get into it. Starting with the Western Conference, and by the way, yes, I am doing this on PowerPoint because I am a poor college student who cannot afford an editor, so this is the best way I know how to do this. Anyway, the Western Conference. Let's start with the Wembanyama sweepstakes, and I've got these three teams here, the Thunder, the Jazz, and the Spurs. I think the Spurs are going to be the worst team in the entire NBA. They've got some young players who have decent potential, but right now, none of them are really there. The Jazz are going to be pretty bad too, but I think until they trade their veteran pieces, who they certainly will try to trade for picks this season, they could be a little bit better than the Spurs, and I also think both Colin Sexton and Lauri Markkanen have shown some signs of being truly decent NBA players, and so they're going to take this team a little bit above what the Spurs are, and the Thunder. The Thunder have some good players. And that's kind of the sad thing with this team. I know that they're tanking, they're going to hope to get Wembanyama or Scoot Henderson this year, but they have Shea, they have Dort, they have guys who have real potential and already are pretty good NBA players, and they're just too busy tanking to let those guys shine. So I really hope that after this season, the Thunder have finally finished their long tank, and they're going to start actually trying to make the playoffs. But for now, they are still very much in the lottery sweepstakes. So moving on, this is the trapped in no man's land area for teams, and this truly only applies to three of these teams. I didn't want to make their own slide for the Rockets, but I think they're going to be too good to be one of the bottom three seeds, but I also don't think they have a real chance at the playoffs, so I had to fit them in here. This is a young team, they're going to be exciting, they're going to have some good moments this season, but they're still too young for me to have a real shot at the play-in tournament, and I think that they're going to finish just outside of the lottery, but they have a very bright future, in theory anyway. The Kings, they just don't have enough defense. This team's going to be bad defensively. Their offense could be good. They have a great offensive duo in Fox and Sabonis, but their defense is going to hold them back. Can't put them into the play-in tournament. The Blazers are a similar situation. I think Dame and Simons are a great backcourt together offensively. Even if Dame has lost a step, Simons is going to pick that space up. Jeremy Grant was a fantastic addition for this team. Hopefully Nurkic is back and healthy once again, but at the end of the day, Jeremy Grant can't carry the defense on his own. This team is going to be bad defensively. They shouldn't have let Norman Powell leave, and I think that they are just going to miss the playoffs. And the Lakers. Oh, Lakers, what is there to say that hasn't been said? AD is never healthy. LeBron is too old to play defense consistently, although he will pass Kareem in scoring this season, and that'll be cool. Russell Westbrook is the worst fit imaginable on this team. I said it when the trade happened, he was going to suck there, and oh, what do you know, I was right. Patrick Beverley is probably this team's third best player and second best three-point shooter after LeBron. Everyone knows what the issues with this team are. We're going to move on. They're not making the playoffs. I'm sorry. Next up, we have the legit playoff teams in the West, and I've got 5 teams here who are not quite contenders, but I really do think they're all going to make the postseason. The New Orleans Pelicans are first. I'm not as high on them as many people are. Same thing with the Timberwolves. The Pelicans, I think their defense is going to hold them back, and I do have some questions about their overall depth and three-point shooting, but I think Zion is going to take them to a very good offense. They're going to be a very fun team to watch, but they are not contenders for me just yet. Timberwolves, similar thing. I need to see a massive jump from Anthony Edwards, as well as proof that Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert is more than just a fun idea, that they can really work together defensively. I'm very worried about Towns having to guard perimeter players. I'm not sure how it's going to work, and I'm not sure how his offense is going to be impacted by Anthony Edwards kind of taking the reins in some ways, and Rudy Gobert getting in his way when it comes to his post play, because even though Towns is far and away the best three-point shooting big of all time, he's not someone who doesn't go in the post at all. He does get his touches down there, he does get his post-ups, and I think Rudy Gobert is going to impact that, so I need to see how they actually perform. Grizzlies and the Suns, I think they're going to be tied. These two teams, they're just not there yet. The Suns are frauds. They burned me last year, they burned me the year before. I picked them to win the title twice in a row, and they choked both times. I do not believe in this team for an instant. They look like a disaster. I'm not picking the Suns, but I think they're still good enough to win 50 games. Similar thing with the Grizzlies. Actually, not similar thing with the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies just aren't there yet. I think the Grizzlies seriously outperformed expectations last year, and now the expectations have outperformed what the team is actually capable of. Triple J is going to miss most of the season, or not most, but at least a majority of a decent chunk of the season, and he's their best defensive player, so I think they're going to have some issues with that. Losing Anthony Melton in the offseason was also a deceptively big loss. He was really important to holding down the fort when Ja Morant missed time with injuries. I think they're going to experience some natural regression this season. They are not contenders just yet, and the Dallas Mavericks, I just don't see enough talent around Luka to call this team a contender. I think he's going to drag them past the play-in tournament. He's not going to let his team fall that far, but I cannot see them being a top seed. I can't see him being an actual MVP winner, considering his seed and how talented some of the other MVP candidates are, and I don't see them as legit playoff teams until he gets a real second star next to him, and Christian Wood coming off the bench is not that second star. I clicked the button. Come on, there we go. Finally, we have the real title contenders, the Nuggets, the Warriors, and the Clippers. I think, bold prediction here maybe, the Denver Nuggets are going to have the best record in the entire NBA. I am predicting 62 wins, and I was actually even higher on them than this before, but I decided to dial it back because it is going to take some time for the chemistry to get used to it. Plus, we don't know if Michael Porter Jr. or Jamal Murray are both 100% yet, but if they are, they could crush this number. They could easily win 65, maybe even like 67 games with this team. They could be incredible. They're certainly better defensively than they were last season, and offensively, it's night and day. Nikola Jokic is currently my MVP pick. I think he's going to average something like 25, 14, and 10 on insane efficiency. He's an underrated defender at the moment, absolutely insane player. I think they're going to win the most games in the NBA, and they low-key might be my pick to make the finals from the Western Conference. The Warriors are going to be really good. Chemistry issues with Draymond Green aside, this is going to be a great team. They're a great team. They're going to win a lot of games. Just don't see them winning more than the Nuggets and the Clippers. The Clippers, on paper, are a 60-win team, no question. But we know Kawhi Leonard's going to load manage. We know Paul George is going to load manage. John Wall, we don't really know what he's like anymore. This team is super deep, but depth does not make up for the fact that neither of Kawhi or Paul George have played more than 55 games in a season since getting to LA. And I don't know if I expect either of them to this year. They're always injured. I just can't trust this team's health. I need to see it to believe it. They could be the favorites if they stay healthy, but right now, can't put them higher than the third seed. I think their depth will still get them to 53 wins, however. Next up, let me get a drink of water real quick. We're going to move on to the Eastern Conference. And over here in the East, it is once again the Wembanyama sweepstakes. I have the Hornets, Pistons, and Pacers here. Pacers are going to suck. No new news there, like everybody knows. Tyrese Halliburton is going to be really good. I think he'll be a borderline all-star, but he's not enough to carry this very bad team anywhere past the worst seed in the East. The Detroit Pistons, I am much lower on than many people. This may be a hot take having them down here at 14. I just don't see it, guys. I just don't see why everyone is so high on this team. I know Cade Cunningham has a ton of potential, and people really like Jaden Ivey as well, but I need to actually see them perform at this all-star guard backcourt level before I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, and Killian Hayes is a similar story, except other people aren't even that high on Killian Hayes. Sadiq Bey is a very good player, but he's not a great player. He's not an all-star player. This team is really lacking defense for my taste. I don't see a lot of defense. I think there may be some issues with the backcourt. They've got a lot of smaller players in the backcourt who all kind of need the ball in their hands. I need to see them work together before I'm ready to believe it. And this team's also just really young. They need time to build chemistry. They need time to get used to playing in the NBA some more. I think the Detroit Pistons could be very good in like 3 years, but right now, I just don't buy this team. That might be my hottest take of the video here. I do not believe in this team. I think they're going to be at the bottom of the East, and it could work out great for them because if they get Wembanyama, then it was all worth it. Charlotte Hornets, I think, are going to experience a serious fallback this year. Gordon Hayward's getting older. He's always hurt. Terry Rozier and LaMelo Ball is a defensive nightmare of a backcourt, and they're missing their second best player from last season in Miles Bridges because he is a piece of crap human being. So, moving on from them, once again, this button's not working. There we go. Here we have the no man's land teams of the East. Alright? I'm sorry. I'm trying not to laugh, I swear. But Knicks fans, I saw so many Knicks fans saying that Jalen Brunson is going to be the difference in this team making the play-in tournament or even the playoffs themselves. And no, he's not. This team is so ISO heavy. They do not have much playmaking whatsoever. Defensively, they're not terrible, but I don't think they're going to be good. Offensively, I think they're bad but not atrocious, which means this team is truly the epitome, in the Eastern Conference at least, of being in no man's land. They're not bad enough quite to be a bottom seed. They're not going to tank. They're not going to get the best players in the draft, but they also really have no chance whatsoever at making the playoffs. So the Knicks are stuck in no man's land. They stink. Sorry, Knicks fans. Your team's bad, and your front office cannot make good decisions ever. Now, let's move on from these bum teams. You know what, actually, I guess I should talk about the teams other than the Knicks here. The Magic, I think, are going to surprise some people, similar to the Rockets in the West. They're not really stuck in no man's land. They're very young. They've got a lot of potential in the future, but right now they're just not there yet. They're not quite a playoff team. And the Wizards are also stuck in no man's land. Bradley Beal has decided to stay, and it seems like he's legit about it. He's just going to make his money and be happy where he is. And you know what? Good for him. He's going to be making $250 million over the next 5 seasons, and you know what? He likes being there. So some guys, you don't need to win. You're happy with money, and if someone offered me that much money to play for a terrible team, I would probably take the money too. Money's pretty nice. Porzingis and Kuzma and the other guys on this team, there are quite a few decent players on this team, but there's nobody else who's close to real all-star caliber besides Beal, so I just don't think they're good enough to make it in the East to the playoffs, but I think they'll just sneak into the play-in tournament to get destroyed by whoever it is they play, and I think that team is going... wow. I think that team is going to be the Chicago Bulls. Now, I have them listed here as a legit playoff team, despite being the 9th seed, and the reason why is because I can't really say they're not a playoff caliber team. This team could absolutely make it in. They could be as high as the 5th seed, and I wouldn't be shocked. The bottom of the East is so close, it's so stacked, and we really don't know who is going to miss the postseason, but I'm going to say that the Bulls are going to just miss the cut. And ahead of them, we've got the Hawks. DeJounte Murray is a huge add for them, but I don't think he makes them a contender. The Miami Heat, I expect to have some natural regression, considering they are just an old freaking team. Lowry is clearly out of his prime at this point. Jimmy Butler continues to age, and the rest of the team has some issues. They have really, really good depth on the wings and in the backcourt, but in the front court, they have no power forward. This team has no true power forward without PJ Tucker, and I think that's going to be a problem for them. They're going to need to play guys out of position to make up for that, and Bam Adebayo is the only real competent center on the roster either. They just really lack bigs, and as good as Bam is, you need more than just one great defender to slow down the Giannis's of the world, the Joel Embiids of the world, the other great bigs in the league. Bam is a really, really good, switchable, versatile defender, but he's not somebody who can single-handedly stop Joel Embiid or Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I think they're going to experience some fall-off over here. That's probably a hot take as well, but I'm sorry, I just don't believe in the Heat right now. The Raptors, I think, are going to win 47 games. They're going to surprise some people. Scotty Barnes is really good. Siakam's really good. Van Fleet. This team is deep in terms of defense and on the wings. They have some serious question marks at center, but I think the league is so small ball right now that even though it holds them back, once again, from beating a team like Embiid or Giannis in the playoffs, they're going to be really good in the regular season with their switchability. They've got a great coach. They've got a great versatile roster. I think they're going to be a fun team to watch. The Brooklyn Nets are weird for me. I considered putting them at the 4 seed, and I also seriously considered putting them all the way out of the playoffs. I think this team is going to implode in many ways. By halfway through the season, they're going to have some serious problems. But when they all play together, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and a whole bunch of shooters, and Ben Simmons is in theory really, really good. And even when Kyrie Irving's skipping games to go to parties, or Ben Simmons is scoring 2 points a game because he's terrified to go to the rim and risk getting fouled by somebody, and shooters like Joe Harris are streakier than you would think and they're missing their shots, Kevin Durant alone can drag this team to the playoffs. He is that good, and I think they're still going to be the 5th seed. The Cleveland Cavaliers are the last team in the East who I don't have as a legit contender. They're a very, very good team, but I just don't trust them yet. I think they have some question marks when it comes to shooting. I think they have some question marks when it comes to their backcourt depth, and I think they're also just a very young team. This team could be a legit contender to me as soon as next season, but right now, I think they're going to need some time together, and they're going to need more time for their young guys to grow and improve. Finally, the legit contenders in the Eastern Conference. I have the Celtics at 3, the Bucks at 2, and the Sixers at 1. And to be clear, this is just seeding. If you were talking gun to my head today, I would say that the Milwaukee Bucks are the most likely team to win the 2023 championship. They would be my pick today. But since Chris Middleton is going to miss the whole start of the regular season, and since Boston is having their coaching fiasco and their best defender, Robert Williams, is going to miss the first half of the season, I think the Philadelphia 76ers, with their renewed depth, with their seeming right now health, gonna knock on wood here, and with this hungry young team, they've got improving players in Maxey. They've got players like, they've got all these guys off the bench in Milton, Thibault, Melton. PJ Tucker is a great addition for this team. James Harden needs to prove himself. He looks like he's in shape. He took a pay cut. I'm really high on him. I hope he's going to be that guy. I can't say that they're my pick to win the title or even make the finals until I actually see James Harden be that dude. But if he can be stretches of that in the season, and we know how good Joel Embiid is, I think they are going to take the top seed in the Eastern Conference. And yeah, I think in the regular season they're the best team in the East, and they're most likely going to lose to the Bucks in the conference finals, unfortunately. So that is my list here. Thank you all so much for watching. Like the video. It took me a while to make this PowerPoint. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and please let me know how much you disagree with every single opinion that I had, because your comments fuel the YouTube algorithm. Because I love hearing your opinions. No, seriously, let me know what you thought, though, what you agreed with, what you disagreed with. Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. I cannot wait for the season to start tonight, so let's freaking go 2023 NBA season. Woo!